Why hello there! I had to push back a few videos, but I didn't want to leave you guys with nothing for the next few weeks. So I decided to tell the story of why I left Adventures League. Oh, and before we begin, the character in the speed paint was based on a poll I ran on my community tab. You guys voted on Goliath Warlock, so here's what I came up with. Okay, so this is more about the DM and a single player rather than the league itself. So take my experience with a grain of salt. I'm sure this isn't every AL experience, I just got unlucky. Regardless of these two individuals, joining AL was what introduced me to the game, and I think it's a great way for beginners to start learning the rules and mechanics of 5th edition. So don't let the story scare you away from AL, this was just what I experienced playing mine. Something of note beforehand, the Adventures League was very small, as I said the last time I talked about this, only one table and about 5 players. So this took place not long after my experience with the obelisk in the Tomb of Annihilation. The DM decided to run us through Lost Mines of Phandelver for a few weeks to kind of give us a break from the previous meat grinder of a module. We all kept the same characters that died in the Tomb of Annihilation obelisk encounter, except for me. I just got a pre-made sheet, and that's what introduced me to playing a rogue. So before I get into the stuff that happened in-game, let me fill you in on some of the stuff that happened out of game. So, I was the only girl at this table. Not that there's anything wrong with that, of course, it just becomes important later. The Barbarians player, yes, the player that instigated knocking over the obelisk, was always kinda weird about the fact I was the only girl. He used to make comments about how it was cool that I liked D&D and I'm a girl. At the time, I took it as in just being a little socially awkward. Well, then one day after session, he asks me out, and I declined as at the time I had just gotten out of a relationship and I wasn't interested in him. I was polite about it, but I made it very clear that I just wasn't looking for a boyfriend. He seemed to take it well, and I thought that was the end of it. It wasn't. At least once every other game he would ask me and I would decline, reminding him I wasn't looking for a new relationship and just wanted to enjoy being single. Then this began to bleed into the game. When we started Lost Mines of Phandelver, I was playing a male halfling rogue, and the player would make comments about how I should play him as a girl because I'm a girl. I always brushed it off saying it was fine and I liked playing him the way he was. It did bother me, but I'm not one for confrontation and didn't want to be a problem at the table. Of course, looking back on it, I should have been more firm and expressed that starting to make me uncomfortable. So my rogue ended up dying in a goblin trap, rest in peace, Hugo, and I ended up making my own character sheet. So I made a half-elf rogue since I enjoyed playing the class, and her name was Elaine. And oh boy, this is when the Barbarians player started getting really weird. Within 2 sessions of me joining the game with Elaine, the Barbarian became infatuated with her to the point of threatening other PCs if they made a joke at her expense. I was extremely uncomfortable with this sudden change because it seemed like he was trying to force a romance in-game to make up for me not being interested in him. I put up with it for a few weeks. Again, I don't like to start trouble, but then it escalated. So we were in a tavern, gathering information on a job we were hired for, when Elaine decided to order a round of ale for the party. Well, the player claimed his barbarian was now drunk. No problem, I thought. It's just a bad joke. Until he started saying how the barbarian starts trying to grope Elaine. And so in response, Elaine stabs his hand. I know I could have handled this better, but due to my own personal experience, I have no tolerance for sexual harassment, whether it's in a game or not. It was gross and inappropriate. So the Barbarians player gets pissed, saying how PvP isn't allowed, how that was extreme, how it was a joke, and so on. And I respond by telling him I was tired of him trying to chase Elaine's tail after her repeatedly telling the Barbarian to stop. Now, I'm sure some of you are wondering where the DM got involved in this. Well, that night I texted him and told him everything. The pestering me to date him, the weird comments about being a girl at the table, the harassment in-game, everything. I told him I didn't want the player to be kicked, I just wanted the DM to talk to him and make him understand that this kind of behavior isn't okay. And a normal DM probably would have had a word with this player. This DM, however, did not. The DM told me this is just how that player is. I found out he's ran off 2 other players, both girls, with the same behavior. I found out from another player at the table that the Barbarian was a close friend of the DM, and that's how he got away with it every time. I tried to tell the DM that if something wasn't done, I was going to leave. And well, nothing was done. So I left. The league shut down not long afterwards. As I said, it was pretty small. I think after that display, the other players just said fuck it too. Which was a shame because as a dungeon master, he ran the game very well. And well, that's why I stopped playing Adventures League. Like I said, I'm sure I just got unlucky, as I'm sure this isn't what all AL leagues are like. But please, people, don't be like these two. A huge thank you to everyone who has become a patron to help support this channel. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this story, and if you liked the artwork, please feel free to follow me on Twitter and Instagram. I will link it down below, and I hope to see you in my next video. Bye!